Yamada Asam Fuchi and Tamaya Gantetsusai confront Gabimaru, who wonders if he is about to die because of his bloody appearance. The two criminals then assess each other's strengths in the event of a fight until Fuchi interrupts them, warning them that what they were doing was meaningless and unscientific and suggesting to Gantetsusai that they acquire information from Gabimaru without killing him. Gabimaru determines that the opponents in front of him are formidable and alters his strategy by bending his head and begging an alliance. Gantetsusai draws his blade on Gabimaru to check whether any movement from him showed he was attempting to deceive him, and expresses disappointment for acting cowardly. When Fuchi questions Gabimaru about why he made this request, the two are astounded to learn of Lord Tensen's existence. Though Fuchi worries whether they should believe him, Gantetsusai agrees to join him in reaching Horai and confronting Lord Tensen. Gantetsusai claims that he has no interest in the pardon and simply wants to become immortal by going down in history as a renowned fighter, and he sets his sights on conquering Lord Tensen to do this. Though he thought Gantetsusai's goals were foolish, Fuchi became interested in meeting immortal beings and wished to dissect them. Gabimaru, Gantetsusai, and Fuchi create a formal alliance with their interests aligned. To begin, Fuchi that Gabimaru offer them with extra information and prepares to tell them about Mei. Gabimaru is surprised to see her slightly grown and hears her pronounce his name after turning around to see her awake, prompting him to ask her if she knows Lord Tensen's secrets and if there is a method to fight them. Mei informs Gabimaru that the power capable of defeating Lord Tensen is known as Dao, but she only provides one-word explanations, noting that Dao is strong, weak, mind, body, and Tanden. Gantetsusai and Fuchi become acquainted with the phrase Tanden, explaining that it refers to the area beneath the navel. The Soshin then approaches the group. Gantetsusai strikes at the Soshin, believing that fighting the creatures in front of them is the greatest way to comprehend Dao, and takes Mei up to his shoulder to help him. Gabimaru observes a creature unlike the Soshin in the distance as the Soshin approach. Senta concludes, based on the information Hoko provides him, that the island should not be confused with the real Shinsenkyo because it is made up of a crude mixture of man-made religions and cultures, which he points out to Yuzuriya mirrors Moro Makiya's crime of fabricating a religion to overthrow the shogun. He also believes that the island's king intends for only humans who have converted into flowers to return to the mainland, which could be a hint to obtaining the elixir and escaping the island. Senta suddenly comes to a halt after realizing he has rambled on for much too long, but Sagiri compliments him on his superior knowledge. Based on Senta's reasoning, Yuzuriya wonders if it's conceivable for them to go up against their adversaries after doing so for 1,000 years, and if Gabimaru and Mei are already dead. Sagiri believes Gabimaru is alive because he is desperate to see his wife again. Soon after, Hoko informs the others of the power known as Dao, which is the energy that runs within all things in the world, and that Lord Tensen controls Dao. He reveals to them that mastery of it can provide one godlike powers and that it can only be accessed through the yin-yang cycle, which could allow a person to conquer greater strength than their own or survive injuries that would ordinarily be deadly. Meanwhile, Nurugai uses her sword to attack Shion from behind, but he easily intercepts it, much to her surprise. Shion then assures her that, despite her determination to avenge Tenza, he will not train her to use a sword. Nurugai asks Shion to teach her his method of fighting blindly, adding that she does not want to see the ones she loves die anymore. Shion tells Nurugai about his ability to sense the waves that reside in everything in the world around him, which allows him to distinguish things in great detail, and explains to her that her spirit must be balanced in order to perceive it, such as having both rage and calmness at the same time. Knowing that the skill cannot be learned overnight, Nurugai persists on teaching her how to use a sword. Shion informs her of the flaws he observed in her sword use and proceeds to show the appropriate way to handle one, much to Nurugai's confusion as to whether he is teaching her on purpose. He then cuts apart the Soshin approaching them while continuing with his explanation, informing her that he would not be her master but that she is welcome to watch him battle, prompting Nurugai to join him. Shion also convinces himself that if he wants to stand a chance against Lord Tensen, he needs to improve his skill with the time he has. While having sex, Ratna Taisei inquires of Mu Dan about the possibility of humans escaping the pit and learns from him that it would be impossible because they would be too weak to climb out of the deep pit and that the wall of assimilated humans would simply prevent them from escaping. In light of this assertion, Chōbei climbs his way out while carrying Toma on his back. After escaping, Chōbei tells Toma about his plan to exact revenge on the Tensens, which Toma reluctantly agrees to. Chōbei feels that the Tensens' weakness is someplace in their lower bodies because that is where the regeneration occurred when he sliced Jufa's body, which Toma thought was astounding. The two brothers are then accosted by a monster known as a Dōshi, who, along with his other colleagues, arrived on the island under Lord Tensen's orders to research the humans and requests that they return to the pit to become Tan. In response to the Dōshi's reluctance, Chōbei attacks him and prepares to have him bring him and Toma to Lord Tensen. When the Dōshi realizes he has no choice but to protect himself, he summons the Soshin. Chōbei focuses on fighting the Dōshi while Toma fights the Soshin. Because he cannot wield Dao, the Dōshi believes he poses no threat to him and sees an opportunity to fatally wound Chōbei by striking his neck, leading Toma to panic as he watches his brother lying down as he bleeds out. Toma attempts to reach Chōbei after the Dōshi rips out his throat, but is stopped by the Soshin. The Dōshi is getting ready to drag Chōbei back to the pit. However, Chōbei awakens to assault the Dōshi, and chastises the monster for letting down his guard. He then turns to Toma, reminding him to manage the Soshin fight as directed. The Dōshi notices that Chōbei's throat has regenerated and assumes that it was caused by his time in the Tan Pit. Chōbei figures out the monsters might be the key to killing the Tensens after sensing something unusual radiating from the Dōshi. The Dōshi notices that Chōbei's has grown larger and determines he must be eliminated. The Dōshi hits Chōbei with an invisible assault, and stops a direct attack after getting near to him. Chōbei's arms are then damaged as a result of blocking this attack, but they are quickly healed, much to his satisfaction. The Dōshi notices that Chōbei's Tao is expanding and wonders if this is due to the Vine's effect. Despite his uncertainty about what has happened to his body, Chōbei tells the Dōshi that he finds his new skill useful. When asked if he was okay with the fact that he was on the verge of losing his humanity, he responds that there is only one thing that matters to him that cannot change, which causes Chōbei to have a flashback to when he scarred his right eye to protect him and his brother from bandits. Chōbei then charges through the Dōshi's unseen Tao assaults and scores a hit to his navel, confirming to him that it is indeed his weak point. The Dōshi detects that Chōbei's Tao has become far greater than before and launches another invisible Tao strike. However, Chōbei dodges the approaching Tao projectile and sees the Tao surrounding the Dōshi's body. The Dōshi then summons the Soshin to assist him, but he discovers that they have all been slaughtered by Toma, much to the latter's satisfaction. Chōbei asks that the Dōshi demonstrate more of his talents and notices him accumulating Tao around his palm. Chōbei gathers Tao around his hand as he observed from the Dōshi and smashes him with an upgraded punch to his belly after crushing his hand before he could attack again. With the Dōshi seriously injured, Chōbei rejoices in knowing that he can kill him by seeing his Tao disabled and begins to tread on him. Chōbei then insists that the Dōshi stand up and answer his questions, such as where he can find Lord Tensen. Toma worries about Chōbei as he notices his markings growing and becomes scarred to see his face as his brother turns around to ask if anything is wrong. While Chōbei binds up the Dōshi, Toma notices how Chōbei's lacerations resemble vines. Gantetsusai attempts to learn Tao by slicing up the Soshin, but Mei tells him in her one-word explanation that he is doing it wrong because he is strong rather than strong, weak. Mei also observes Gabimaru as he fights against the creatures. While this is going on, Fuchi is overjoyed because their annihilation of the Soshin allows him to inspect their corpses and informs Gabimaru of his findings. Fuchi is likewise curious about Mei. Gabimaru recalls Mei using a mystery power to carve away at a cliff to assist him in escaping Zhu Jin and doubts if she is human. Gabimaru is splattered with Soshin blood by Gantetsusai after scaring her and reprimanding him for making glaring looks. Gabimaru sends a Soshin's head at him and says that he is alright with it because he is married. Gantetsusai tells Gabimaru that he will not tolerate this because he regards him as his underling, only for Gabimaru to refute this claim. A Dōshi approaches Gantetsusai after noticing Mei on his shoulder. Gantetsusai resists the Dōshi's blow with his sword, but the Dōshi takes Mei off his shoulder. The Dōshi kneels before Mei, addressing her with respect, and tells her that it was by chance that he found her after she vanished from Horai decades ago, and he requests that she return because the Dōshi are in need of her assistance. Gabimaru asks the Dōshi what business he has with Mei and learns from him that Mei is similar to Lord Tensen, much to the surprise of Gabimaru, Gantetsusai, and Fuchi. Gabimaru realizes that being more engaged with her could take him astray from his goal, but he wonders what he should be focusing on at the moment. Gabimaru reacts by coming to Mei's side to shelter her from the Dōshi after she turns to look at him with tears in her eyes. Despite being advised by the Dōshi that aiding her is unimportant, Gabimaru answers by expressing that he does not want to make her cry again. The Dōshi considers Gabimaru to be a nuisance and declares his desire to transform him into Tan and retrieve Mei with the assistance of another Dōshi who appears behind him. Gabimaru prepares for battle, while Gantetsusai intervenes after noting that the Dōshi that materialized resembles the island's human-faced butterflies. Gabimaru concludes that the Dōshi are either insect users or the bosses of the insects based on their looks and ability to manage the human-faced butterflies and centipedes, and that approaching them recklessly would be deadly. After dispatching the human-faced centipedes in front of them, Gantetsusai declares his plan to exact revenge on the human-faced butterflies that lost him his left hand, which Fuchi had to replace with a hook. Gantetsusai gets struck by an invisible Tao assault by the butterfly Dōshi and is warned by Gabimaru to be wary of this talent. The two then defend themselves against the Dōshi, but they end up getting in each other's way. The centipede Dōshi tells the two humans that they are no match for them and asks Gabimaru why he wants to protect Mei, much to the latter's surprise. Gabimaru tells the Dōshi that it is natural to support individuals who help others and wonders why they want Mei. The Dōshi informs Gabimaru that the Dōshi trains in the ways of Tao, which consists of 5 methods, and that Mei is necessary in the final training known as Bochi Jutsu, in which 2 practitioners of Yin and Yang Kai participate in coupling to circulate the cycle and heighten their Tao. He also reveals that Lord Tensen are beings who have both Shis, but Mei is the only one who has Yin Kai, which is why she was marked and banished from Horai. Gantetsusai becomes outraged when he realizes what they intend to do with her and informs Gabimaru that he intends to kill the centipede Dōshi. He is then surprised to see Gabimaru with an angry expression on his face, as the shinobi is enraged by the Dōshi's statement that Mei is marked, and orders them to stop considering her as an item. Given how tough it will be to bring them down, the Dōshi summon their insects to take on a transformation comparable to Lord Tensen's Kishikai forms. Gabimaru and Gantetsusai then confront the Dōshi after he threatens to kill them both. Gantetsusai takes the opening move by attacking the butterfly Dōshi, but is poisoned by the scales of the human-faced butterfly. Gabimaru is then approached for assistance, but he declines because he is occupied fighting the centipede Dōshi. Gabimaru distances himself when the Dōshi fires off additional Dao missiles and uses Ninpo Hiboshi to burn away at the human-faced butterflies approaching him and Gantetsusai, as well as building a wall of fire between them and the Dōshi. Gabimaru decides that in order to defeat his opponents, he must be able to discern Dao and hopes he could better comprehend Mei. Fuchi, after determining how to understand Mei's remarks, informs Gabimaru that his mind must be balanced by being both strong and weak in order to awaken his Dao, and he asks Mei to assist him in sensing his own Dao through touch. Gabimaru has a rudimentary feeling of his own Dao but finds it difficult to comprehend that he must weaken his intellect as part of the key to unlocking Dao. Gabimaru recalls Sagiri's previous statements to him that were similar and gets to visualize Dao flowing through him and Mei after hearing Mei state that strong, fruit of weak and weak, seed of strong. Though Fuchi believes he does not get the notion right away, Gabimaru assures him that he does and marches into the flames. Mei then remarks on how big Gabimaru Dao is while watching him. Gabimaru sees the two Dōshi's Dao projectiles and successfully dodges them, thanks to his unlocked sense of Dao. Gantetsusai and Fuchi are amazed by his battle performance, with Gantetsusai assuming that Gabimaru's Iwagakure shinobi training allowed him to learn Dao-like techniques, though Mei shakes her head, feeling that this was not the case. Gabimaru focuses on the centipede Dōshi and realizes that he can now predict the intention and direction of his opponent's moves, as well as clearly detect the other Dōshi using Dao. Gabimaru learns to realize where Sagiri's true strength originates from after accepting his own weakness, which allows him to detect the weak and strong presence of individuals around him, and manages to dispel the centipede Dōshi's centipede arm with a mere touch of his Dao. This astounds the centipede Dōshi, who compares Gabimaru's feat to that of Lord Tensen. Gabimaru then tells the centipede Dōshi that he can no longer defeat him and attacks both Dōshi with a Dao-enhanced kick. Gabimaru believes he is now prepared to meet Lord Tensen again after coming this far. He then insists that the centipede Dōshi turn over the information he has, which the Dōshi does and informs him that 3 Dōshi were ordered by Lord Tensen to spy on the humans on the island because they perceive them to be a threat, and he sees that they are correct to be careful. As Gantetsusai advances to claim victory, the centipede Dōshi orders the human-faced centipedes to attack the swordsman, while the butterfly Dōshi launches a Dao missile. When Gabimaru notices this, he jumps over Gantetsusai to redirect the centipedes towards the butterfly Dōshi, using Hiboshi to set the insects on fire and incinerate the Dōshi, while Gantetsusai slices the centipede Dōshi in half, resulting in their victory. Meanwhile, Shion and Nurugai arrive in Hojo after overcoming the Soshin, and the gates to Horai open for Sagiri, Yuzuriya, Senta, and Hoko upon their arrival. Dan, who is standing far away from them, swipes his finger to behead Hoko, much to the surprise of Sagiri and the others. And with that, we conclude this episode. Please like and subscribe for the next. Thank you for watching.